if you want to transform a place and you want to have a conversation with people and say, we want to work collectively, imagine trying to change a place, a town, a city, a country, a continent. Do you think they can count from 1 to 20? So if they can't count from 1 to 20, can that group of people transform that place? Can they work together in harmony? Can they do it on their own devices? Do they need somebody like Alan to come in and say, actually, let me just do that? So hopefully, the latter part of this presentation, conversation, chat will give you some top tips on how that can be done. But I kind of came into this and really just sort of had a go at you guys. So let me just wheel it back in and explain to you who I am, what is it that I do, and why I wanted to share some conversation with you today. First and foremost, if you can join in this activity, then do so. If you don't want to, completely fine. So right hand, just wave it. Yeah. And can you hold your chins for me, please? Excellent. All right. How many went for the chin? And how many went for the cheek?
Well, one after. Chin. I've got a few of them.
Yeah. Now that's another one to just really test. What are you guys doing? Are you just following the person here? Because this is what I did. Or are you actually listening to the instruction? Because what I said was, please follow the instruction. And the instruction was the chin or the cheek. So hopefully through this little bit of a conversation we're going to have today, you'll unpick why I did these two activities at the beginning. So let me start my presentation. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so delighted to be in Keighley today. My name is Ahmed Al-aagam. I work for an organization called Unlimited, that's UNLTD. We are the Foundation for Social Entrepreneurs. We're a national organization with a support offer for the whole country, but part of that work, since 2017, I have been working here in Keighley, and I'll explain what that work has been since 2017. But a little bit about myself. I was born in '85 in a town called Aden, a former British colony, in a country that no longer exists, which was called the South of Yemen. In 1990, that became a country. So I was born in a country that no longer exists. In 1990, a unified country was born, a moment of history. 1994, civil war broke out, and I was there. And again, history was rewritten, because one of the parties to that unification won the war, and the other party lost it. I happened to be in Aden. We were the side that lost the war. And for a few years after that, I learned what it's like to be in a country where you've lost a war, because you'll always be reminded that you've lost a war. So I'm not sure what is my country anymore. Is it the one I was born in? Is it the one that became 1990? Or is it the one I left? Or is it the one I went to? So in 2000, I came to Sheffield. And in two places in my life, the keywords of resilience and reliance were instilled in me. And when I came to Keighley, that was the first thing I wanted to understand. How can we create resilience, not reliant? Because in a funding situation, you can very easily create reliance. We can have that dependable conversation where you basically do the things that because there's funding, and therefore you will always be talking to me as a funder with a bit of a, oh, he's the funder, so I've got to do what they say, because they're the funder. They must know what they're talking about. What I wanted to create was a resilience. And that was instilled in me because at some point in my life, I had to start a new life in 1995 because we moved to a different part of the country. 2000, I moved to again. And every sort of 4 or 5 years, there was always a change in my life. But the one thing I carried with me was that resilience. Because I knew if I've gone through these episodes, whatever I'm going to do next, I'll be all right. Because my reference point was, if I've survived that, I can do the next thing. So when I came to meet some of the amazing people here in this town, I saw in them resilience. A different kind of resilience. A resilience that, we just get on with it. But a resilience that didn't have ambition. And that was worrying for me. Because when I came to work in Keighley, I'd just been working in London. And you could say the parts of London I was working in had really complex challenges, but there wasn't a lack of ambition. And it was always fascinating for me, why is it in a place that's complex like London, with all the challenges that these people face, I was still having conversations in a similar way that I was having here in Keighley, but ambition was present in a way that was very different to here. And I'm not going to attempt to try to do a comparison between London and Keighley, or try to do the economics of it, or why it works and why it doesn't work. We can talk about transport and then just might as well just not talk about anything else. In London, you can go from south to north with one kind of journey. I was trying to explain to somebody that I was on, what's the area called? Where, is it Woodhouse? But then the next to Woodhouse, there is the Hainworth Community Centre. So between these two places, you can get to. But if you're in Rizzledon, you've got to come into town, and then from town, you've got to change. And it was like, there's no chance. I can't come to a meeting all the way up there. I was like, okay. But the area I'm working with covers all the way from kind of Ingro all the way to Rizzledon. So where am I going to position myself in the middle where everybody can come to? Town centre wasn't part of it. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't do anything in town. It's got to be all on this side. Dalton Lane was a kind of a neutral ground. I could get people to the college, and I could get people to the Morrisons. I could get people to the train station. And then I just had to find a place in this town where it was neutral, central enough, where I could have conversations with people, because I just wanted to understand. So in a 3-year program, you can't be parachuted into a town and expect that you know it, you've got the solutions, because that's not going to last. That's not building resilience. That just goes against the very premise of what I wanted to do. I wanted to come to a town, meet amazing people, support them to support themselves and to transform their town. Not me, not what I want, not my agenda, it's their agenda. So I spent the first year, many teas, cakes, conversations in too many grocery stores, takeaways, you name it, I've been there. I wanted to listen. I wanted to understand, what is it about this town? And the usual question I used to say, if the person wasn't from here, also, what brought you to Keighley? Oh, that was a question to ask, because everybody had a story to tell. And today we heard some from people here. You know, what is their story? Understanding their story. What is it? What brought them to this town? And then I'd say, so what are your hopes for this town? We'll be all right. We're just going with it. So what do you want to do? What is it that, we've got some funding. We want to find amazing people who want to transform this place. What do you want to do with it? I'm all right. I don't need funding. Okay. I've had that conversation. I've had people say, yeah, I'm going to do it. So here's the application form. Don't see them again, ever. Okay, fair. Life happens. And then I've had some people who really took that opportunity. And I want to talk to you a bit more about them in a second. Does that set the scene? Does that explain to you kind of the challenge I face coming into a new town? I knew nothing about Keighley. So where do you think I got my insights and intelligence? News headlines. So I put Keighley on the search engine, put news, and that wasn't a great starting point. The headlines were not great. So 2017, I took a drive with my colleague at the time who was doing the handover and explaining to me the area. And the headlines and some of what I saw were kind of matching. I thought, okay, well, that's fine. But some of the other headlines were just too harsh. It's like if you haven't been to Keighley, you'd think that it's just a really terrible place. You wouldn't even tell that you've got such a greenery site around it. You wouldn't tell how beautiful it is. I've kind of coming into Keighley, I've come all the different directions you come into Keighley. Well, namely to avoid traffic, but more importantly to take the scenic route, right? And it's beautiful. But you don't get that talked about. That's not why people come into Keighley. It's not the reason, and it's not the headlines. So I set out in 2017, 2018. I said, if what I was doing works, we're going to have positive headlines in 3 years' time. We're going to try to change the narrative by putting Keighley in a good place. And everything that we do, and everything that I worked with the people, I would try my best to try to get it into the newspapers. Local newspapers, anybody basically who would write anything about it will do it. So, I'm going to share with you a concept today. It's not mine. I didn't invent it. I learned it in 2007 in an innovation camp that I went to in the south. And it basically stands as SUN, S-U-N. Suspend, understand, and nurture. So when somebody comes to you with an innovative idea or something that's outside of this norm that you're in, outside of your own comfort zone, please don't judge them. Please don't project your experience, your negative view of the world, your pessimistic view. Just hold. Just suspend that judgment for a moment. Second thing you do, ask understanding questions. Just clarify. Why do you think that's needed? Why do you think it's going to work? What do you need to make it work? Who do you think we can talk to? Who else can we bring in? Is there anything positive that you can build to that? Because once you've suspended and you've understood, you want to be nurturing the idea. You want to help them develop the idea. Because you know how much courage people need to come to you with an encouraging or a positive idea. It takes a lot of energy. And if you're that person, the first person that they talk to, and you just put them down, that idea might never see the day of light anymore. So what's that concept? S-U-N. Suspend, understand, and nurture. This town has an amazing talent of people. We call them social entrepreneurs. That's what we call them at Unlimited. You can call them placemakers. You can call them change makers. You can call them whatever you want to call them. But these people exist here. They're from this town. They're from amongst us here. They are here today. You've heard some of them today, and I'm sure you're going to hear some more later on. But I just want you to really support. Next time somebody comes to you with a good idea, don't put them down. And always think about this. Seeing is believing. If there's nothing for you to see, what do you do then? And that's where I want you to imagine what a future for Keighley could look like. I want you to support people in this journey to placemake. These people could be conveners, so they're the people that bring people together. There could be the people with a vision, but no skills on how to make it happen. There could be people who've been here for a while, organizations or individuals, and they could be what we call your anchors. But the place requires all these things to be working in order for it to happen. So the convener, the visionary, and the anchor. And on that, I'm going to leave you with this really good trick. Next time somebody asks you to do the 1 to whatever number, look around the room, make a conscious decision whether you are going to be a speaker or not. And just listen to when they're about to say the number, because normally they take a deep breath, because it takes a lot of courage. So it's kind of like if you really were quiet and you were listening to people here, you might be in tune, and hopefully this town will transform. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak.